Hey everybody, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. I was debating on if I should live stream about this topic or do video. Either way, I have to do it. This is about Art T. Bear and I don't want to say the news article or hit piece that they put out. And okay, I'm going to be as honest and fair about this as I possibly can. Before we get into it, I want to show you that Downcast Volume 2 is coming to Indiegogo very, very soon. Really, it's going to be quick. We're looking at the very first end of February, early February. Well, I should say it that way. You can sign up for the mailing list in the description below, and I strongly suggest you do so because I will not spam you, and you will get access to discounted perks. All right, I'm going to be skipping around here a little bit. So maybe you've been following this. If you haven't, I'm going to give you a really condensed version. So basically, Art T. Bear yesterday, 2 days ago, he went on to his own live stream. He had a live stream and he talked by himself to the chat, and he explained why it was that he was fired from Marvel Comics. Now, that's a really interesting thing. No matter how it happens, getting fired from anywhere makes for an interesting story. But his story was, as he calls it in his own words, epic. He explained an awful lot of backstory, and essentially it boiled down to Marvel Comics claiming that Art was sniping talent from Marvel to send over to DC Comics, and that they were essentially paying him. He never mentioned this in his stream, I believe, but Bleeding Cool sure does bring this up. But that was their claim, is that he was collecting money from DC Comics to talk people into leaving Marvel to go to DC. And for some reason, even though Art is working for Marvel at the time on, not even arguably, but the two biggest books, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, he was doing that at the same time. So why on earth he would be sniping and getting bribed to do so? This gets really, really complicated because you see this is also an indictment of DC Comics. Bleeding Cool has made the claim here in this article that DC Comics was paying bribes to Marvel employees in order to bring other Marvel employees over to DC. That is quite a claim. All right, and so basically Bleeding Cool went through essentially his entire live stream, almost, point by point, beat by beat, except for a few things. So, and Rich Johnson is the one that wrote this article, I believe. Yeah, you write it. This is Rich Johnston's words. Okay, so he starts out saying, first, this is an accusation that Art T. Bear is currently running a crowdfunding campaign for his comic book Chrono Mechanics on Indiegogo, which is the perfect time to talk about why he hasn't worked for Marvel Comics since 2002. A story he'd been saving up for this moment. Here's the thing. If you want to be taken as a journalist, taken seriously as a journalist for that matter, or if you want to, uphold some kind of journalistic standards, you don't start your article off with, some kind of snarky accusation, like not even brave enough to just make the accusation. It's this is what is motivating all this. He's essentially assigned motives, and you think I'm crazy when I question Bleeding Cool. Rich Johnson has assigned motives to Art T. Bear coming forward with a story of mistreatment from his employer. Now, you don't hear that same kind of stuff from Bleeding Cool when it comes to anybody else. Like, I don't know, Eric Esquivel and his victims, Cynthia Noggle. When other people come forward talking about bad relationships or bad employee relationships, why would Bleeding Cool not come forward with some kind of a snarky remark against Cynthia Noggle? You are a tabloid site, and that's all that you are. All right, so Art did address this because obviously people are going to bring that up, that he's got a book on Indiegogo, so that's why he brings up this story. Now, for one thing, if something happens that's true, and you come forward and say something about it, does that mean it is less true? There's a crowdfunding campaign going on at the moment. Honestly, the crowdfunding campaign doesn't matter. That is a motive. That is not whether this is true or not. And that, honestly, I think should be the topic of debate. Is it true that Marvel Comics fired him and told him he would never work for Marvel again because he had lunch with, members from DC Comics? Or is that a lie? And did it really have to do with bribery? Those are two separate claims that have very, very different consequences and outcomes and motivations. What is true? Now, essentially, he goes through Art's entire video, basically point by point, and then he does a few different things here. Now, this is how you know it's a hit piece. All right, now first off, I got to show you this. He points out a few other totally unrelated points that basically what he's trying to say is that Art is some kind of hypocrite. This is a character assassination. Again, it has nothing to do with the story whatsoever, has nothing to do with the claims or verifying anything of that, anything of that nature. All this has to do with is character assassination. So he brings up Richard Meyer and Aubrey Sitterson. What do they have to do with the story? Zero. Nothing. And within this, he also makes at least one false claim. I need to look into Aubrey Sitterson a little bit more, but I can tell you Chuck Wendig, he claims here that Comicsgate is responsible for the firing of Chuck Wendig. Now, that's not true. Marvel never said that was the case. It was because of Chuck Wendig's behavior on Twitter. That is what Marvel said. That's what Chuck Wendig said. Nobody has claimed anything else besides Bleeding Cool and Rich Johnston. All right, the other claim that he makes in here is that he talked to somebody. We don't know if it was an employee or an employer at Marvel. We don't know if it was Joe Quesada. We don't know if it was somebody at DC. We don't know anything because there is no name. It came from an anonymous source. He also states that Marvel had no comment. So if you go to Marvel, they have no comment, but yet you're going to somebody else that wants to remain anonymous, and essentially all you have is a he said, she said. So he claims that Marvel did some kind of an investigation and they had evidence for him taking bribes from DC Comics in order to filter talent away from Marvel and to DC. Now, that's a massive claim, and I think it's fair to ask, if you're going to accuse the second largest publisher of that, and you're also going to accuse a comic creator of that you'd have something to back it up with. But no, you'll publish it, of course, based off rumors, because we're just a rumor site. But which is it? Are you a rumor site, or should people be taking your accusations seriously? Which one is it? Now, I posted this on Twitter. Bleeding Cool loves quoting anonymous sources because I've seen it time and time again, and I'll tell you, you could do it. It's very controversial. You hear this coming up all of the time with like CNN, for example. They start doing that and get very fast and loose with their sources. It's totally fair to question a news source, especially one like Bleeding Cool. And I've already identified in that same article the Chuck Wendig claim that was not true, and it's verifiably not true. Rich Johnson responded to me and he said, "Some people only speak on conditions of anonymity. I never make such things up, and I would never ascribe such comments from people not in a position to make them." So the assumption is that, because you're a trustworthy person, this claim is on your shoulders. So you're right. This is your claim now because there's nobody else that was in there that can make that claim. So you basically have a he said, she said situation. You have Art T. Bear on one hand, and then you have Rich Johnson of Bleeding Cool on the other hand. This is exactly something that you can't prove. If you have no proof to take to the table, all you're doing is refuting it yourself. You are the source now. So I responded that these are serious allegations to make without receipts, which is true. I also said I wish these anonymous sources claims were vetted with half as much scrutiny as Art's words, and he said they were with half as much scrutiny. And then no further responses there. It doesn't matter who you like and who you don't like and who's friends with whom. This is what I came here for. I'm sick of seeing this kind of stuff. I'm sick of seeing that if you have the wrong friends or if you have the wrong opinions, that then it's okay to blacklist you from comics. That's okay. In every other instance, you want to be objective. That's fine. But if you're friends or if you associate with that Richard Meyer guy, then everything you say is a lie. If you associate with Comicsgate, then everything that you say is a lie. I'm getting so sick of hearing this. All right, that's enough of a rant for today. Thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this insane article, and I'm really curious to know if DC Comics is going to address this at all, because that is a really damaging claim against DC Comics. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.